Great. Okay, thanks. So, yeah, Nacho, welcome and thanks for presenting tonight. Um, I think someone, yeah, if you could just mute yourselves, please. Um, yeah, great. And so, Nacho, yeah, I'll hand over to you and let's hear what you have to say about Power Query.
Okay, before we begin, I want to thank Ben for this invitation today. It's really a pleasure. I'm not used to doing sessions in. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I just think if people could mute themselves, please.
Okay.
I think there was just some background noise there. So yeah, we can still hear you though.
So we're going to start because I have 40 minutes approx, and I want to review all the connections that Power Query offers for connecting external sources to Excel, and even it's the same for Power BI if you are interested in any of both tools. But I think that Power Query is really a very powerful tool, and last year it has gained importance in Microsoft Word. So the agenda is introduction, very fast
Please
introduction,
don't
just
troll
for
Lion, Lidl.
after I have we will see how to connect with local files. And the second block is focus on how to access to cloud sources that is basically OneDrive and SharePoint, because they have a special behavior. It's a little bit tricky, but it's very interesting when you can use this kind of cloud document management that every day is more used in the companies. And finally closing, and I hope you have a nice time during this 40 minutes. Okay, so next step. Okay, who I am, my name is Nacho Cardenal. I have been an MVP in Microsoft for 3 years. I've always enjoyed sharing knowledge and helping others learn, and the result is this project that I have called Influexcel, that has mainly three parts. Is the YouTube channel, where I usually share videos, tutorials, tricks for using Excel, Power Query, and some topics related with data. This is the main one, and one of the most important things inside the Influexcel world. Also, we have a very interesting point that is WhatsApp community that is based on YouTube channel, but here we are over 1,000 members who either because they love it or because they are forced to use Excel. There we are, and we are sharing problems, we are sharing solutions. There is a lot of MVPs in the group, and there is a lot of people that is not MVP but has a lot of huge knowledge about the Excel. And it's very interesting because when you are learning, one of the main points for learning in a good path is to be joined with other people with the same problems, and that's the fact, and that is why this community exists. And you are invited if you want. We can create a channel in English, so there is no problem. And people usually is from Europe and.
Sorry, Nacho, you've muted yourself.
Now, yeah.
That's better. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know when I have silenced myself, but okay. I have here, okay, I was talking about influexcel.com. That is where really it's a place for sharing all the templates that we show on the YouTube channel. This is the way we use for sharing the files, for allowing people to practice with the same file that I have used in the tutorial. Okay, so without further introduction about me, let's get started. But first, I'd like to now if you can answer in the chat. How many of you are familiar with Power Query? I don't know if there is. It's very common, depending on the on the session. There is a lot of people that knows Power Query, and I don't know in this case if you know what Power Query is. Okay. Okay. In fact, what we are going to see today is to access to how to connect the information with Excel. Okay. First of all, the objective of this session is understand what Power Query can do, and why, if you can use it in a proper way, you can change the way you work with Excel, because you start to create like a kind of architecture of data, having the sources in one part and all calculations reporting is in another part, and using Power Query for linking these both areas of information. So what's Power Query? Power Query exists since 2016. It's in the menu. When I discovered it, I was very surprised, because in the ribbon is a big button that says get data, and I haven't used it never. And when I did, I really fell in love with this tool. It basically connects with external source, creates a sequence of steps that we are creating for transforming this file, the data in this file, and you can refresh that every time you want. So it's very interesting when you have processes that are similar each month, each week, it have some kind of frequency. It's a very tool that helps us to save a lot of time. And finally, all these changes, you can load it in your workbook and work like a normal table like you are doing now. So the main reasons for use it is that the effort for importing one data is only one time. It's at the start of the process or at the start of the development, because from that point you only have to refresh just one click, and you will have new data, new files, new rows that you have created in the source in your workbook, and it will be showing the final result just only clicking refresh button, without copy paste or changing some manual transformations that we are used to do in this kind of process that are repeated every month, every week. So this is a brief introduction about Power Query. And okay, 1 second, I'm gonna change. Next point, just a global idea about what Power Query can do. Basically, it connects with, wow, it connects with external source. You can apply a lot of transformations, and finally, you can load this result of the original source and the transformations to your workbook. In the session of today, we are being focused on this first part of the process, connecting with external source, because it's the start of everything. Because when you have this information in Power Query, you can transform it and you can finally load it. Okay, and we are going to split the session in two main blocks. One is how to work with local files in your desktop, in your laptop, and how to work with external files with OneDrive and SharePoint. So I'm gonna take off presentation. I'm gonna open here. Yeah, okay. Excel. I have here a blank Excel file. It has nothing at this moment. And what I want to do is I have this folder in my laptop. I have this text file that is just a plain text with one file for headers, and here I have comma separated values, and I want to import this information to my Excel. Okay, so I have the menu, I have data here, and this is the main option that I have to get data. I have a lot of options, but 90% I will work with from file. Why from file? Because here I can access to the main import files that I will work. In this case, I will choose from text. Okay, I'm gonna take this option, so it pops up the browser of the Explorer, and I can go to the folder where I have these files that I have shown in the browser. I have this file. Okay, I can import. So now Excel is connecting with the text file, is reading all the information inside, and what he asked us for transforming text in data well structured in columns and rows is that we have to define first encoding. This in English is not so relevant, but when we are working with another language, we have special characters, accents, this kind of encoding that needs to be treated here. Basically, it recognizes automatically, so you can trust on this point, because here you have in this case, I have selected Windows automatically. It has recognized even delimiter. In this case, it's comma. If you have here another kind of delimiter, it can be a tab, it can be any kind of character, it will be recognized. And finally, data type detection, in fact, is based in this case on 200 rows. What it does is gets the first 2000 rows and tries to see which kind of information is inside that column. Is a number, is a date, is a text. But this part really is very, very well recognized by Power Query. When you arrive to this point, you can do transform data. You can load directly. But it's very interesting for this session that we can open the Power Query interface. Okay, I have this. And automatically, it has recognized the text file, has created the columns, has assigned here the data type. I'm going to do it. Okay, shift 1 second. Okay. It has recognized automatically data type, text, date, quantity. And here we are ready to load this in our workbook, just clicking close and load. If we click here, our blank sheet now is a connection with the text file. So this information that we can see here now is directly related with the content of the text file. So if I now go to the folder, I have sales comma delimiter. I have until 1011. It's okay. But now if I go to this file and I change this, now I'm going to change it manually, but it could be the next file that I download from some system or I receive from some supplier. I can create a new file here. Okay. 1, okay. I would add here, it would be, well, 12 is just an example, but I can add some kind, well, I think we can understand what I'm doing. I'm adding a new row. I save this file, okay, and close it. Okay. Now, when I come back to my Excel and refresh, I have this new row directly included in the table that was the result of the Power Query import process. So this is the main idea that now we are going to explore with different sources and different format files. We have a source that it can be a text, it can be an Excel file, it can be a SharePoint list, it can be a database. Today, we are not going to see databases, but it can be a lot of origins or a lot of sources. And the idea is that all these movements are updated when we retrieve the information using refresh button. And all the functions, all the calculations that we have using this table in this Excel will be updated automatically just refreshing the source, okay? It's a nice question. I don't know why it does. Perhaps because I have included a data. 1 second, I'm gonna check. Because 31 in September doesn't exist. So it's creating an error in the sense that this date is trying to convert, but is not real because 31 in September doesn't exist. If I include 13, okay, 30, okay, guardar, save. And now, if I go again to here and refresh again, I have this date correctly introduced. Okay, so this is the global idea, as I said. Now we are going to do the same, but in this case, using an Excel file as source. Okay, so I have this table. It's an Excel with sales is similar to the Excel that we have seen. Are you? Yeah, I'm sharing the screen, I think. Yes. Okay, thank you. So now we are going to open again data, get data, but in this case, we are going to choose the option from Excel workbook. And we are going to select, in this case, this is filtering out just Excel files. I can choose the one that I have shown previously in the browser. Click import, and now it pops up the navigator. It changed a little bit because now we are not trying to understand how the text file is structured, but we are trying to understand how this Excel file is structured. And we have here a preview of what information I can import from this Excel, okay? We have this icon that is like a table, or we have the option sheet. That is a full sheet of information. Usually is recommendable to use tables, not just because Power Query, but in like good practice using Excel. If you have some kind of structured information, it should be always in table format. So in this case, it recognizes that we have a table in the source. We can select this source. We can transform the data again, and it's going to open again the interface of Power Query, and I have the same structure that we can see using the import of the text file. Previously, we have done anything in addition to import information, but here we could add some kind of extra steps, extra filters, extra transformations to the data. For instance, you can imagine that I only want to see two categories, headphones and mouse. for this kind of import that I'm doing. So this filter that I have done here, and if I don't want to see, for instance, order ID, here we have a lot of easy transforms that we can do just clicking. It's a little bit out of scope of the presentation of today to go further in how to transform information, perhaps in another session, because today we are going to be focused on how to get information from the external source. But here we have a lot of steps that we can create. And for instance, we can filter in this case, and we can remove columns. I don't want to see order ID, for instance, so I remove columns. I can make a lot of things like splitting or merging, removing rows. But the idea is that all these movements that I'm doing here basically are creating a key applied steps. So this is the first part that has been created automatically when I have created the import. And I can navigate with all the steps that I have created, and I can see in the main part of the interface how the information that I'm working with is changing. So at the very first moment, I have the full information, but I can go to the next time, where the next step where I have said that I want to filter out to keep mouse and headphones. And finally, I have change again, remove columns. Okay, so at this point, these steps that I have applied will be applying every time I click on refresh. What I mean is I can close and load. It will create another sheet here, with just these two rows. And if I go to the source again, I have this information that is the one that I'm working with. I could add 2 rows more. This one, okay. And this one, okay. Just one be headphones. But the another one is not keyboard that I have filtered out that kind of category. So now I can save. And when I'm now refreshing, I have added 2 rows, but only one is okay with all the filters that I have done. So the result is that I only see in the final result only the one that is okay with all the process. If I go back to the process, I can see now that I have 3 lines. If I need in some case of changing, I can go to the applied steps and change whatever I want. For instance, if I want to take out this filtering, I can delete this movement, remove. Okay, and I have the full table again. So I close and load. I will have the load table again with all the criteria that I have applied to the import process. Okay. About limits, yeah. Really is no limit in the amount of information that you are receiving, or limit about the memory of the laptop. But if you want to show that in a sheet, you will need you have the limit of the number of rows that you have here. That basically is 1,048,000. This number. So, but you can save it as I can see in the chat, as connection only. That is a way that you can get that import process and keep it in Power Query. And that information can be connected directly with the Power Pivot, and you can work with more than 1 million of files. I don't know if I see 23 million rows that are loaded in the it's possible, really. But the idea is, if you want to see all all that amount of rows in Excel, there is a limit, but not because Power Query, because the number of rows that Excel can manage be in showing you in the limit of one sheet. Okay. Okay. Next point. So what we have seen now, we have to review the presentation. I don't know if I can share after the session all the files and the presentation. I will do if it is possible. Basically, is that we have managed local connections with Excel and with text, but there is another option, even in local, that is to import all the files in the same folder. Why is this very useful? Because normally we are combining manually and we are adding one file after one file. These kind of files that have the same structure, but we have for the first quarter, for the first week, for the first month, we have this amount of rows that we need to consolidate, to aggregate in a unique table for working without having to change all our reporting structure. So there is a very useful option in Excel that if we go to data, get data from file. In this case, it's not a file, but is from folder. We are going to see this option because I think it's very interesting, because now we are not going to choose to pick a file. We are going to select an entire folder of information. So at this point, I have this folder, monthly reports, that is containing sales, quarter one, quarter two, quarter three. Okay. So I open this folder and now I have a similar view, but it's not the same, because now what I can see is all the files, every row is a file in the folder. I can transform this data, transform. I have this view that is not the content itself of the files, but is every file with information about the file, that date of creation, modification, which is the path of where is it saved. But we have this button here. I want to see it, that says combine files. Okay. If we click here, what it does, opens a new form where we can define what we want to combine. So supposing that the structure of each file in the folder is the same, I can change the first file and say, okay, for each file you have to go to the sheet sales. Okay. This step has been similar when we have doing this step with just one Excel, and automatically it goes and combines all the files, including the name of the file, but adding all this information from all the files. So if we close and load, we have these rows that are not only from one file, are coming from 3 files that I have in the same folder. If now I'm gonna copy paste the same values, but I'm gonna change the number. Okay. Now, automatically, if I click on refresh, I will have even this new information that I have added. So it's not only that I can access to the information in one file, but I can also to combine information from multiple files. And this is a very, very powerful tool when you have this kind of process, when you every month, every week download the same file structure and you want to add this new data to your report. Okay. So this is the option, the from data, get data from folder. And with this, I think we can say that all the options in local file sources have been reviewed. We have go to the Excel file Excel file. We have import a text file, and even we have used this option, folder option, where we can combine multiple files, and just clicking, we have all the information that we have in that folder just in our workbook. Okay. Yes, this is information about the setup of text files. As I have said previously, if I can share this presentation, I will share with you. So here are some kind of tips for special situations. And this is the case that we have seen. Oh, okay, and now we will go to the block number 2, SharePoint and OneDrive. I don't know if there is any question about this imports in local from local files. If not, I keep on SharePoint and OneDrive, because here we have similar problems, but the way that we have to connect is slightly different. First of all, we have files in SharePoint. We have OneDrive Business, that is our personal folder in the cloud. And we have SharePoint, but not files, not folders, list. That is this tool of SharePoint that we can manage more or less directly in the web. So we are going to see these 3 imports. So, okay, this is tips for after the presentation. So I'm gonna go back to our Excel. I'm gonna present. I have here SharePoint. This is the my training SharePoint. I don't know if if everyone knows what SharePoint is or how it looks like. Basically, it's like a web where you can have several items here, and you can share documents and have lists organized by topics. So I have created this kind of list. I have called it Southampton Excel, and I have a very, very simple list, but basically is the way that companies can manage the master data of some kind of not very huge amounts of data, but you can you have expenses, you can have name of the users, depending on the number of the customers you have, you can maintain them here. It's so suitable for those cases where a lot of people have to change the same information. But at this point, how we can connect this information with our Excel, because here the key point is that Power Query is going to allow us to access directly to this information, and we can combine this information with the local file and mix all this kind of global data that we need for creating our reporting. So, but the way that we can do this is a little bit weird. I'm gonna see how we can start. We're going to go to data, get data, and in this case, we were talking previously from file, but we are going to go from other sources. In this option, we have from SharePoint list. I click here, and it pops up the site URL. And which is this site URL? If we are going to SharePoint again, I can see my browser, and all this is a site that is now called Influexcel. I have a lot of sites. So if I go here, this is one site, module per whole. If I go to Influexcel again, and the idea is this is the direction, this is the address, the URL that I need for importing data. If I click here and I say, okay, I want to see the SharePoint list that you can find out in this address. Okay. Of course, you have to have permission to access to this SharePoint site, because if not, it would be show a warning that you cannot access. And I have here a lot of items that is it's information that is included in the site. And I have here my list, Southampton Excel. I select transfer data and opens again Power Query. And this is the view that I get. It's a little bit messy because there is a lot of hidden columns that I'm not seeing in the web. Because if I go to the list in the web, I have only caption, options, user profile, city. But internally, it retrieves a lot of columns that I'm not going to need. So I can choose the columns that I want. As we have seen previously, we have here some very, very straight options that I can choose columns. If I click here, I have all the names and I can choose directly the columns that I need. In this case, I need the title. In this title, it's here, city, created, options, and I will keep the information. And I have the view that I need for my report or for including this information in my Excel. Close and load again. And now what I'm seeing here is the information that I can see in the web. So if I go to the web and I add a new element here, I don't know, now is news from yesterday that now agent mode is open for everyone. I can create this register. Nachos and Siri from Southampton. Okay. I have created this new row here, this new register, and automatically, if I go here and I refresh, I will have this new information in my Excel. So now we are creating not just files, including in using Power Query, but even this kind of user interface that people can add here information. I can retrieve it immediately in my Excel. It's very interesting. Is to see all the options that SharePoint has is not the scope of this session, but it's really interesting because here you can create forms for getting data from users, from customers, from external sources, that when the information that I need is not in another system in my company, I can create the process for getting this information and using it directly in my reports. And SharePoint list is one of these ways to do this. But not only SharePoint list are the source that I need, because I will need also to access to information of documents, files. I have here this option. I have created a folder here, okay? And the idea is similar because now I'm not going to connect to a list in SharePoint. I'm going to connect to just a file in SharePoint. We can imagine we here have this file, April 2024. Okay. And if I want to access to this file and import to Excel, to my local workbook, I have to look for the URL of this file, and it's not this one that I am saying here. I have to go to Archivo. No, in fact, I have to open in desktop. Okay, open. Now in my desktop, I have opened this file that is hosted in the SharePoint space. And in File Info, I have this button of Copy Path. I copy. Now I'm gonna see what is this, because I have this here. Up here, okay. And I have this complete URL, okay. I can copy this and try to include this information using also Power Query. So I can say data, get data, but in this case, I have to use not from file, from other sources, from web. Clicking from web, he's asking me the address here, and I can copy paste this path that I have got from the file that I want to import. But this is a little bit weird because if I click OK, now it's gonna to show me an error and says, okay, I can understand this address. I have to go to Edit and remove the last characters where it says $web equal 1. If I remove this part, I can click OK, and now it recognizes correctly, and I can work with this like if it was a local file. So if I want to access to this SharePoint file, it's the similar for if it is OneDrive. I have to do this. I have to go desktop, download the file in my desktop, go to copy path, and copy that address, removing the last part, the part that comes after the question mark, including the question mark. Okay. So now I can click, and here the process is similar to the process that I have created previously. Just for showing two fast movement that transformations that I can do with the menu. Here I have the header is not in the first row, because if I go to the Excel, I have here okay. As you can see, I have here the title, and here is a blank row, and this would be the information that I want. Another transformation that usually I can apply in Power Query is, at this point, I want to remove this row. So remove rows, top rows, because it's in the app. One row out. And now when I have in the first row the titles that I want for the columns, I can use this option, and automatically it converts the first row to the name of the fields. So click, and I have this view that is very interesting for working with data without taking into account that the original source has a title, a blank row, or this kind of stuff that I don't want to include in the import process. So close and load, and here I would have this information. Okay. Okay, we have seen SharePoint list. We have seen how to do it in directly to one file in SharePoint. It would be exactly the same if the file is in OneDrive, but I want to show again how to include not only one file, but all the files in this folder. So how we can achieve all these files. Again, if we go to our importing file that we are using here, we have data, get data, and again, even it is files from folder, I have this option that not from folder, it would be the option that we have used for local imports. Here we have from SharePoint folder. If we click here, again, I need a complete URL. Sorry, not this. I have, it was the this one, where I have the name of the site. Because even I want to access to one specific folder that is in the site, the way of access to this point is to load all the folder files, and at the end I have here each row is a file, but the last column show us how which is the complete path where the file is hosted in the SharePoint. So I can here filter by I don't know how it was, monthly, I think. 1 second. We are here. Okay, and Southampton folder. Okay, so I'm gonna click here. It's similar to filter in Excel table. So I can click here, Southampton. Okay, and I'm gonna filter the files that I want to see. It's a change of how we are used to do this, because usually we navigate in the folders, clicking in one folder inside, and we are doing this movement, tree movement. But in this case, we have all the information that we have all the files that we get in the site, and we have to filter them using folder path. At this point, we are in the same position for creating, as we have created previously when we have done the local importation from a folder. And I have this button here, and I can combine files and create all the process. Okay. Okay, I close and load, okay? And now, what happens if I want to import data from OneDrive? In this case, this folder, those documents are in SharePoint. That is the global doc management for all the company. But in OneDrive, I have my own data, my own files. So I have created, this is my OneDrive, and I have created Southampton OneDrive, Power Query demo files. But even in SharePoint, it's very clear, at least very clear. I hope after the session, everyone has this very clear. I have to include the name of the site, the address of the site. When I'm in my OneDrive, I have to include this path. Okay, I'm gonna select the same option from SharePoint folder. But at this point, I have recorded it previously here. I have I have here. Okay, is this? I'm gonna do it bigger. Okay, it is always module upper Modeloper is my company. This could be the company that you are working for. My SharePoint, my SharePoint.com, personal, and finally here you will see your email or your user email, and here we have changed the arrow. I don't know the code for this code, okay, for underscore, and the dot is always changed by underscore, and this is the address that I have to include for accessing to my folder in OneDrive. So if I include this, I have the same situation. Okay, I am accessing to all the files that I have in my OneDrive. I have to go to this point. Sometimes when Power Query is showing filters, it appears this message, list may be incomplete. So you can do a lot more for having all the options that you have in that search. And here we have again Southampton. Okay, I have all these files in Southampton local. So, but if I want only to combine this one of sales that are included in monthly reports, gonna change the filter. Oh, wow. Take it out. Monthly, 1 second. Monthly. Load more what we have seen previously. Monthly. Okay. And I want to select this option. And now I have again the option of combine all the files that I have in my folder in OneDrive. And we have reviewed how to access to folder, how to access to a file in SharePoint. Same for OneDrive if we are talking about files, but different, slightly different when we have to decide how to include the address of the folder that we're going to include if we are talking about OneDrive or we are working with SharePoint. And finally, the option of getting information from SharePoint lists. Again, I have included here a summary of which is the URL pattern that we have to use. And that's it, I think. I don't know how many time I'm in this. I think it's near I started. Oh, I have exceed 40 minutes. Okay. And basically a summary. Remember that the pattern always for every data transformation is connect, transform, and load. This it can be applied to everything that we are doing with data if we are including it from outside Excel. Remember that OneDrive and SharePoint use the same connectors, but they have the difference with the URL that you have to use. Be careful about cleaning the URL that you are copying from path in Excel because you have to remove the last part. This part I think is very useful. Use folder connector if you have to combine multiple files. Just with this option, you can save a lot of time. And this point is that you have to have granted permissions for accessing to external sources if you are working with OneDrive and SharePoint. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have get some interesting insights of the presentation. And if you want to ask something, I will send to Ben all the files that I have used in this presentation. If you want to access to them, nice. And if you have any question, you can ask directly to me in LinkedIn, or even if you want to come to community, you are welcome. If you want to see YouTube channel, it's nice. Not all the videos, but last videos have automatic translation to English. So even the channel is in Spanish, you can follow them in English. And that's it. Thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you have enjoyed this time as I have done.
Great. Thank you, Nacho. Yeah, really interesting. I don't know if anyone in the chat or in the room has any questions for Nacho. We're okay in the room. Oh, someone's typing a question, or maybe a question. Someone's typing, Nacho. Questions maybe. I found it interesting. Oh, there we go. Are there any more of these sessions that are coming? So we will be booking some more sessions in. I'll be putting them on Meetup as and when we get some speakers booked in. It's usually the sort of every other month or quarterly, depending on how many sort of speakers we can get. And there's a question in Spanish for you there, Nacho. Or that's a question or a statement. But,
Hi, Eduardo. No, sessions. I don't know, Ben. Where do you share this session? Is internal group or you have any YouTube channel?
So yeah, there is a Southampton Excel meetup YouTube channel, and we'll be
Okay.
putting the Nacho's presentation on there, so people can watch that again if there's anything they want to see. And yeah, the meetup group is a good place to see what sort of future speakers we have coming
Perfect.
up. Thanks. So if there's no more questions, Nacho, thanks. We'll let you go for the evening, and yeah, thank you everyone for attending.
Oh, it's been a nice time with you, and I hope to have another moment. And best wishes for you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. So